Hey guys, tonight we dive into the ancient world to explore why Athena, the formidable Greek goddess of wisdom and war, preferred owls over eagles. Picture yourself standing in a sun-drenched olive grove near Athens, the air filled with the scent of earth and the distant call of birds where myth and reality blur into a tapestry of symbols and stories. Before you get too enchanted, imagining yourself conversing with divine owls or soaring eagles, here's a cheeky reality check: you probably won't survive a face-off with Athena's spear. But that's okay, because tonight you get the safer, quieter perspective of the owl perched silently in her shadow. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And, hey, drop your location and local time below. I'm curious to see how far this owl's wisdom is traveling. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge through ancient Athens, a city alive with the clang of artisans, the chatter of philosophers, and the rustling of olive branches. Athena watches over it all, her helmet shining in the sun, her gaze sharp as an owl's in the twilight. The eagle symbol of Zeus circles high above mighty but distant, while the owl perches close, a quiet sentinel in the city's heart. Historians still argue whether Athena's preference for the owl reflects a deeper cultural choice or a later artistic invention. What's clear is that the owl became an emblem of wisdom, a companion that embodied the goddess's sharp intellect and protective spirit. You notice the owl's wide, unblinking eyes, capable of seeing through darkness, an apt metaphor for insight in uncertain times. It's less about brute force and more about knowing when and where to strike. And here's a quirky tidbit: in some ancient stories, owls were thought to be the souls of the dead, guiding the living through shadowy realms. Imagine a bird so mysterious that it bridges life, death, and divine wisdom, a perfect partner for Athena. As twilight deepens, you feel the subtle power of the owl, a creature both ordinary and magical, forever linked to the goddess who valued cunning as much as courage. You find yourself soaring into the complex world of the eagle in Greek myth, a bird synonymous with power, authority, and the sky itself. The eagle, majestic and fierce, was closely linked to Zeus, the king of gods, making it a symbol of divine rule and unyielding strength. Its soaring flight and commanding presence marked it as a creature of the heavens, a messenger between gods and mortals. The eagle's significance in Greek culture was immense. It was seen as the ultimate predator, ruling the skies with sharp eyes and powerful talons. You can almost hear the screech echoing across mountaintops, a call that commanded respect and awe. Temples and altars often featured eagle imagery, reinforcing the godly power it embodied. Yet, despite its grandeur, the eagle's association with Zeus created a complex relationship for Athena. She was his daughter, yes, but her own realm was different. A realm where wisdom, strategy, and craft took precedence over raw power and dominance. The eagle was a symbol of brute force and royal command, while Athena represented a more measured, cerebral form of authority. Here's a quirky detail: some ancient myths describe eagles as harbingers of thunder and lightning, wielding the storm's fury as weapons. Think of them as sky knights on the divine battlefield, wings spread wide to enforce Zeus's will. This might explain why Athena, the goddess of strategic warfare, preferred a different kind of companion. Historians still argue whether the eagle's prominence overshadowed or complemented Athena's symbolism in early Greek religion. Some scholars suggest that the owl emerged as her emblem to balance the eagle's overwhelming masculinity with a quieter, more introspective power. As you imagine, the eagle circling high above Mount Olympus, its piercing gaze scanning the world below, you see a creature of authority and awe, but one that lacks the subtlety and quiet vigilance embodied by Athena's preferred bird. You recall the owl's silent flight, and its ability to navigate darkness, a stark contrast to the eagle's thunderous cry and daylight dominance. This difference perhaps reflects Athena's nuanced approach to wisdom and war, less about overwhelming force, more about insight and strategy. In this cosmic dance between birds and gods, the eagle and the owl represent two sides of power: the sky's raw might and the night's penetrating vision. You slip into the shadowy, mysterious world of owls, creatures of the night, whose quiet presence and penetrating gaze have captivated humans for millennia. Owls, with their silent wings and wide reflective eyes, embody an ancient connection to the unknown, the unseen, and the wise. One grounding fact is that owls have long been associated with wisdom across many cultures. But for the Greeks, their nocturnal nature symbolized insight beyond the obvious knowledge gained by seeing through darkness and mystery. The little owl Athene noctua, native to Greece, was especially revered and closely linked to Athena herself. You pick up a quirky detail: owls can rotate their heads up to 270 degrees, giving them a nearly panoramic view, a biological superpower that ancient observers might have read as the ability to see all truths. Imagine an ancient Greek looking at that and thinking, "Now, that's a creature who knows everything happening around." Historians still argue whether the owl's association with Athena was a later development or rooted in earlier pre-Greek or Minoan beliefs. Some suggest that the bird's connection to wisdom evolved over centuries, blending natural observation with myth. The owl's role was multifaceted. It was a protector in the dark, a guardian of secret knowledge, and a symbol of the careful strategic mind qualities central to Athena's identity. Unlike the eagle's loud dominance, the owl's approach was subtle, stealthy, and deeply perceptive. As you imagine, the owl perched quietly on a branch in the olive groves surrounding Athens, its eyes glowing softly in the moonlight. You sense a profound calm and confidence. It watches, learns, and waits for the perfect moment, a master of patience and quiet power. Owls also had a somewhat eerie reputation. Their calls were sometimes seen as omens, and their presence in myths often hinted at the delicate balance between life and death, knowledge and mystery. This liminal quality made them perfect companions for a goddess who navigated both war and wisdom. You think back to the city's nightly sounds, how the owl's call punctuated the darkness, a constant reminder of unseen forces at work. This subtle presence captured Athena's spirit far better than the eagle's thunderous flight. In this way, the owl represents not just a bird, but an ideal wisdom that sees beyond the surface power exercised with care and strength that respects the shadows. You find yourself walking through the rich tapestry of Athena's birth myths, stories thick with symbolism and portent that hint at her unique bond with the owl. According to ancient tales, Athena sprang fully formed and armored from Zeus's forehead, a dramatic birth that marked her as a goddess of intellect and strategy, born from the very mind of the king of gods. A grounded fact. Athena's unusual birth symbolizes wisdom born of thought rather than passion or physicality, aligning perfectly with the owl's representation of keen insight and cerebral power. This myth sets her apart from other deities, emphasizing her connection to the intellect rather than brute force. You uncover a quirky tidbit. Some versions of the myth describe Zeus suffering a terrible headache so severe that Hephaestus split his head open to release Athena. It's like the divine version of popping a stubborn pimple, painful but necessary for brilliance to emerge. Historians still argue whether this myth evolved as a political statement, reflecting Athena's role as the patroness of Athens and symbolizing the city's emphasis on reason and civic order. The owl, as her companion, became a natural emblem for these ideals. You imagine the owl as a symbol born alongside Athena, both emerging from the same cerebral source, silent watchers and strategists, born to guide and protect. The owl's night vision metaphorically represents Athena's ability to see through chaos and uncover hidden truths. The myth also emphasizes Athena's dual nature, warrior and wise woman mirrored by the owl's silent hunting prowess and alertness. Unlike Zeus's thunderbolts, her strength lies in wisdom, cunning, and careful planning. You reflect on the symbolic contrast with other gods' births, often messy or physical, while Athena's emergence is clean, purposeful, and intellectual, a birth that foretells her lifelong role as goddess of reason. The owl's close association in iconography and myth reinforces this birthright, portraying Athena as the guardian of enlightened thought amid the shadows of ignorance. As the story settles in your mind, you feel the deep connection between divine birth, the owl's symbolism, and the enduring appeal of wisdom over mere strength. You begin to peel back the layers of symbolism that intertwine. Athena wisdom and the owl, a bird that came to embody the very essence of knowledge and insight in Greek thought. Athena wasn't just a warrior goddess. She was the patroness of crafts, strategy, and learning, and the owl perfectly reflected these qualities. A mainstream fact grounds you in ancient Greece. Owls were widely recognized as symbols of wisdom. Their nocturnal nature meant they saw what others could not, navigating darkness and mystery with ease. This made them fitting companions to Athena, whose intellect pierced confusion and chaos. You discover a quirky tidbit in some Greek art, and coins owls are depicted with large eyes and exaggerated features, emphasizing their ability to see all. It's almost like an ancient emoji for wise and watchful, a clever design that made the owl instantly recognizable as Athena's symbol. Historians still debate whether the owl's wisdom symbolism arose purely from natural observation, or was influenced by earlier civilizations such as the Egyptians, who also revered owls. The cross-cultural exchange of symbols adds a fascinating complexity to the story. The owl's presence in Athena's imagery wasn't merely decorative. It was a powerful statement about the goddess's role, vigilance, strategic thinking, and a calm, measured approach to conflict and decision-making. The owl watches, waits, and strikes at the perfect moment. You consider how this contrasts with other birds associated with gods like the eagle, which represented boldness and dominance. Athena's owl embodies a quieter, more reflective power, one that values knowledge over force. You also find that the owl's association with the night linked Athena to the mysteries of the unknown, the subconscious and the divine. It represents an ability to uncover hidden truths, making Athena not just a goddess of battle, but of enlightenment. As you imagine an owl perched silently on a temple's edge, its eyes glowing softly in torchlight, you sense the deep cultural resonance of this symbol, how it shaped perceptions of wisdom that still echo today. In the interplay of myth and nature, the owl emerges as the perfect companion for a goddess who valued mind over muscle, foresight over fury. You step into the world where the eagle reigns supreme as Zeus's chosen symbol, a majestic creature embodying raw power, authority, and divine kingship. The eagle, with its commanding presence and soaring flight, was revered across Greek culture as a manifestation of Zeus's will and strength. A key fact grounds you: the eagle was seen as the messenger of the gods, especially Zeus carrying thunderbolts and enforcing divine law from the heights of Olympus. Its fierce image adorned shield standards and temples, symbolizing unchallengeable power. Yet this close association created a complex dynamic for Athena. As Zeus's daughter, she was connected to this symbol of dominance, but her realm required a different kind of power, one of wisdom, strategy, and protection rather than sheer might. You uncover a quirky detail: in some myths, the eagle was said to carry the souls of the dead to the afterlife, acting as a psychopomp. This gave the bird an eerie, otherworldly aspect beyond mere strength, a link between life, death, and divine judgment. Historians still debate whether Athena's preference for the owl was partly an assertion of independence from Zeus's shadow, embracing a symbol that reflected her unique identity and values. Choosing the owl could be seen as a subtle rejection of raw power in favor of intellectual mastery. You imagine the eagle circling above its sharp eyes, scanning the lands below, a constant reminder of Zeus's authority. But Athena's gaze is steadier, more patient, like the owl's, focused on seeing what others miss. The eagle's flight is loud and commanding, the owl's silent and watchful. This contrast embodies the tension between brute force and thoughtful action, a core theme in the gods' mythologies. You recall how art and literature portray these birds: the eagle as a warrior's emblem, the owl as a scholar's companion. Athena's choice speaks volumes about her role as a goddess who wields intellect as her mightiest weapon. As night falls and the eagle retreats to its nest, the owl awakens, ready to guide those seeking wisdom in the darkness, an enduring symbol of insight over intimidation. You settle into the owl's quiet role as protector and guardian, a watchful sentinel over cities and warriors alike. Unlike the eagle's soaring dominance, the owl offers a steady, unseen vigilance that perfectly aligns with Athena's role as a strategic defender. A key fact grounds this: the owl was believed to have protective powers, often seen perched on the parapets of Athens, symbolizing the city's watchfulness against threats. The bird's keen night vision and silent flight made it an ideal emblem for defense and wisdom. Here's a quirky detail: some legends say that owls were able to warn citizens of impending danger, with their calls acting as early alarms in the dark. Imagine an ancient city relying on bird calls for safety tips, nature's own neighborhood watch. Historians still argue whether the owl's protective symbolism was primarily metaphorical, or if it played a practical role in Athenian civic life. Either way, the image of the owl as guardian is deeply ingrained in the city's identity. You imagine the owl perched high atop city walls or temple roofs, eyes wide and unblinking, embodying Athena's vigilance. Its silent watch contrasts with the noisy bustle of the city below, offering calm and confidence amid uncertainty. The owl's nocturnal nature symbolizes Athena's ability to see through darkness, not just literal night, but the shadows of ignorance and chaos. It's a reminder that wisdom protects by illuminating hidden dangers before they strike. In this light, the owl is more than a symbol. It's a companion in guardianship, embodying the careful balance between alertness and calm readiness. Athena's favoring of the owl reflects a preference for strategy and foresight over brute force. You recall earlier contrasts the eagle's thunderous flight versus the owl's stealth, and see how these birds represent different modes of power. Athena's choice signals her unique approach measured intelligent and protective. As you listen to the soft hoot echoing in the distance, you feel the ancient promise of guardianship, the owl watching over city and soul, a quiet protector in turbulent times. You glide into the bustling heart of Athenian society, where the owl's image graces coins spreading Athena's wisdom across the ancient world in tangible, everyday form. These small shining discs weren't just currency. They were symbols of civic pride, intellect, and divine protection. A firm fact anchors this moment. The famous Athenian tetradrachm featured the owl prominently alongside olive branches and Athena's profile. Minted from the 5th century BCE, these coins became widely circulated, cementing the owl's association with the city and its patron goddess. You catch a quirky detail: these owl coins were so recognizable and trusted that they were accepted far beyond Athens, sometimes called owls, by traders and travelers, much like how we use bucks for dollars today. Imagine paying for goods with a bird. You'd better hope it's a wise one. Historians still debate whether the owl's image was chosen primarily for its symbolic meaning or as a political statement asserting Athens' intellectual and military dominance during its golden age. Likely, it was a bit of both. The coin's design, a wide-eyed owl gazing knowingly, mirrors the qualities Athena embodied: vigilance, wisdom, and strategic power. Carrying these coins meant carrying a piece of that divine protection. You imagine citizens holding these coins in marketplaces and temples, feeling a connection not just to commerce, but to the city's spirit and heritage. The owl's gaze served as a silent reminder of the values that sustained Athens. These coins also helped spread Athena's image, and with it her owl across the Mediterranean, influencing how people beyond Greece viewed wisdom and governance. The owl transcended its biological roots to become a powerful cultural icon. As you watch the sun glint off a coin's surface, you sense how such small objects can carry immense meaning, bridging the divine, the civic, and the everyday. The Athenian owl wasn't just money. It was a symbol of identity, intellect, and guardianship, carried by hands both humble and noble. You find yourself immersed in the sacred rituals and festivals where owls took center stage, embodying Athena's divine presence and the spiritual heartbeat of Athens. These ceremonies wove the owl's symbolism deeply into the city's religious life, blending reverence with celebration. A well-grounded fact during the Panathenaic festival: Athens's grandest celebration honoring Athena owls appeared in processions and offerings symbolizing wisdom and protection. Sacred olive wreaths and owl images adorned temples and altars, linking the bird to the goddess's favor. Here's a quirky detail: some ancient accounts mention that priests released live owls during ceremonies, allowing the birds to fly through the crowds, a living symbol of Athena's watchful spirit soaring over her people. Imagine a festival where the sky itself seemed alive with omens. Historians still debate the extent to which owls were revered as literal sacred animals versus symbolic icons. Some suggest that the birds held a cult-like status with sanctuaries and rituals dedicated specifically to them, while others see the worship as metaphorical. You picture the temple precincts at night, flickering with torchlight, the soft hoot of owls echoing through marble columns, a sensory experience blending sound sight and sacred meaning. The atmosphere invites contemplation and connection with the divine. Owls also featured in personal rituals. Citizens might carry owl charms or amulets for protection and wisdom, believing the bird's presence could guide them through life's uncertainties. The owl's role in religious practice emphasized Athena's multifaceted nature, warrior protector, and wise counselor, making the bird a tangible link between mortal and goddess. As the festival rhythms fade into quiet night, you sense how these rituals sustained the city's identity and spirituality, with the owl silently watching over the sacred and the everyday. You realize that in Athens, the owl was not just a symbol, but a living part of communal faith, a guide and guardian in the rhythms of life and devotion. You step into the nuanced contrasts between the eagle and the owl, two powerful birds whose differing natures highlight why Athena preferred the quiet vigilance of the owl over the commanding presence of the eagle. These birds represent two distinct modes of power and wisdom. One clear fact grounds you. Eagles are diurnal hunters soaring high in daylight, known for their strength and striking power, while owls are nocturnal silent hunters relying on stealth patience and acute senses in darkness. This natural contrast perfectly mirrors the symbolic differences in Greek mythology. You spot a quirky detail: owls can fly almost silently, thanks to specialized feathers making them nearly invisible hunters, nature's ninjas of the sky. Eagles, on the other hand, announce their presence with thunderous wing beats and piercing cries, a flying battle drum. Historians still argue whether Athena's choice reflected a cultural preference for subtlety and intelligence over brute force, or if it was a way to differentiate her from Zeus's masculine power symbolized by the eagle. The debate touches on gendered aspects of symbolism in Greek religion. You imagine the eagle as a fiery war cry inspiring fear and dominance, while the owl embodies quiet strategy, watching and waiting to strike with precision. Athena's favoring of the owl reveals her preference for thoughtful action and intellectual clarity in warfare and governance. The owl's ability to navigate darkness symbolizes Athena's capacity to see through chaos and uncertainty, guiding her followers with insight rather than intimidation. Artistic depictions often show Athena accompanied by an owl perched calmly on her shoulder or helmet, an image of calm authority and wisdom contrasting with the eagle's grandeur and spectacle. You recall the mythological roles: Zeus's eagle delivers thunderbolts and enforces cosmic order, while Athena's owl counsels, protects, and inspires. Each bird fits its god's domain perfectly. As you listen to the imagined soft flutter of owl wings against the night, you feel the subtle power of silent wisdom, proof that sometimes the quietest voice carries the deepest strength. You find yourself immersed in the enchanting world of myths, where owls play pivotal roles as Athena's companions and symbols of her guidance and wisdom. These stories reveal the depth of the owl's significance, weaving it into the fabric of divine intervention and mortal affairs alike. A grounded fact anchors you: several Greek myths depict owls as messengers or guides sent by Athena, their appearance signaling divine favor or impending insight. The owl's presence often accompanies moments of revelation or protection in these tales. A quirky tidbit surfaces: one lesser-known myth recounts an owl helping a hero navigate a perilous night journey. By illuminating the path with its glowing eyes, a supernatural beacon in the darkness. It's like having a built-in GPS with night vision centuries before technology. Historians still argue whether such myths arose primarily from observed owl behavior, or were crafted as allegories to reinforce Athena's image as a goddess of wisdom and strategy. The blending of natural observation and storytelling enriches these narratives. You picture the owl silently guiding warriors before battle perched on Athena's shoulder, as she whispers counsel or watching over the city's defenders from temple rooftops. The bird embodies the goddess's watchfulness and foresight. In some stories, the owl serves as a symbol of justice and fairness, reflecting Athena's role as a goddess of law and civic order. Its vigilant eyes represent the impartial gaze of the law. You also learn that owls occasionally appear as tricksters, or enigmatic figures in myth, reminding you that wisdom often embraces mystery and complexity rather than simple answers. As you listen to the owl's imagined call echoing through ancient forests and city streets, you sense the profound bond between goddess and bird, a partnership that shaped how the Greeks understood knowledge and protection. In these myths, the owl is not just a creature, but a living emblem of Athena's enduring presence and the subtle power of insight. You drift into the vibrant world of ancient art and iconography, where Athena and her owl companion come to life on pottery sculptures and temple friezes. These visual representations played a crucial role in shaping public perception of the goddess and her symbolic bird. A key fact grounds you: countless Greek vases and coins depict Athena wearing her iconic helmet, often accompanied by a small owl perched on her arm or nearby. This recurring image reinforced the owl as her sacred animal and symbol of wisdom. You discover a quirky detail: some artists exaggerated the owl's eyes, making them disproportionately large, to emphasize its legendary keen sight and insight. It's almost like ancient caricature, an early emoji for watchful and wise. Historians still debate whether these depictions were strictly religious or also political, serving to assert Athenian identity and values through public art. The owl became a visual shorthand for the city's intellectual and military prowess. You imagine walking through an ancient agora surrounded by pottery shops, displaying vases adorned with scenes of Athena's battles and councils, the owl's gaze following passers-by like a silent guardian. Temple reliefs often showed Athena in serene poses with the owl nearby, suggesting the bird's constant companionship and protective presence. This artistic pairing communicated to worshippers the goddess's balance of strength and wisdom. Some sculptures even portrayed the owl as a standalone figure, highlighting its independent symbolic power within Greek culture. You notice how the owl's image evolved over time, from naturalistic to stylized forms reflecting changing artistic trends, while maintaining its essential role as Athena's emblem. As night falls and you picture torchlight flickering over these artworks, you feel how art kept the goddess and her owl alive in the collective imagination, inspiring awe and reflection across generations. These images are more than decoration. They are cultural vessels carrying Athena's legacy through time and space. You find yourself wandering through the halls of ancient philosophy, where thinkers debated the meanings behind symbols like Athena's owl, and the eagle unpacking their metaphoric weight in discussions of knowledge and power. These interpretations enriched the cultural landscape, offering layers of insight into the goddess's avian companions. A solid fact anchors you: philosophers such as Aristotle and Plato referenced birds, especially owls and eagles, in their works, using them to illustrate concepts of wisdom, perception, and governance. The owl's keen night vision became a metaphor for philosophical insight penetrating ignorance. You pick up a quirky tidbit. Aristotle reportedly noted the owl's ability to see in the dark as an example of natural perfection, contrasting it with human limitations, a subtle nod to the divine quality Athena embodied. It's as if even the ancient biologist was in awe of the owl's talents. Historians still debate how deeply these philosophical views influenced popular religious symbolism versus reflecting broader cultural ideas. The interplay between philosophy and myth created a rich dialogue that shaped Greek identity. You imagine Plato's allegory of the cave, where the owl's night vision symbolizes the philosopher's journey from shadow to enlightenment, seeing truths hidden to others. Athena's owl becomes a beacon for seekers of knowledge, guiding them through darkness. In political thought, the eagle often symbolized the ruler's authority, while the owl represented the statesman's wisdom, strength tempered by understanding. This duality mirrored the dynamics of power and intellect in governance. You reflect on how these symbolic birds helped Greeks conceptualize the balance between force and wisdom light, and darkness action and contemplation. The owl's metaphorical role extended beyond mythology into everyday life, influencing how people thought about leadership, justice, and the pursuit of truth. As you sit with these philosophical images swirling in your mind, you feel the owl's presence as a symbol of enduring wisdom, an invitation to look beyond the obvious and embrace deeper understanding. You journey beyond Greece to trace how Athena's owl symbolism influenced Roman culture and eventually modern interpretations of wisdom and learning. The owl's image traveled through time and space, morphing, yet retaining its core association with insight and protection. A grounded fact, Romans adopted many Greek deities and symbols, including Athena, known to them as Minerva, and her sacred owl. The bird appeared in Roman art literature and coinage, continuing its role as a symbol of intellect and vigilance. You catch a quirky detail in medieval Europe. Owls sometimes gained a darker reputation as creatures of witchcraft or ill omen, a fascinating twist contrasting their earlier positive symbolism. It's like the owl's PR team had a major crisis for a few centuries. Historians still debate how much of Athena's owl symbolism survived these shifts, and how cultural contexts reshaped the bird's meaning. The transition from ancient goddess worship to Christian symbolism created a complex legacy. In the Renaissance, classical imagery revived, and the owl regained status as a symbol of wisdom, often appearing in scholarly works and university emblems, an enduring nod to Athena's influence. You imagine the owl perched atop stacks of books, guiding scholars through the labyrinth of knowledge. Its silent watch reminds us that wisdom is not just information, but discernment and reflection. In popular culture, the owl's association with wisdom persists from children's books to corporate logos, though often simplified and commercialized. You reflect on the bird's journey across history, from divine companion to symbol of intellect, through periods of suspicion and reverence, adapting yet enduring. As you close this chapter, you sense that Athena's preference for the owl shaped more than mythology. It forged a lasting emblem for humanity's quest for knowledge and calm insight. The owl remains a quiet guardian of wisdom, a companion across ages and cultures. You arrive at the final reflection, pondering the layered reasons why Athena preferred owls over eagles, a choice steeped in mythology symbolism and cultural nuance. It's not just about birds. It's about what they represent and how they shape our understanding of wisdom and power. One grounded fact anchors this contemplation. Athena's identity as a goddess of strategic warfare and wisdom demanded a symbol that embodied intellect, vigilance, and protection without the raw aggression associated with the eagle. The owl, with its quiet watchfulness, fit perfectly. You uncover a quirky thought. The owl's ability to turn its head almost completely around suggests a kind of all-seeing wisdom, always alert, always ready to perceive what others miss. It's like Athena's secret weapon, a bird that never sleeps on the job. Historians still debate whether this preference was influenced more by natural observation, religious symbolism, or political messaging by the Athenians themselves. Was the owl a deliberate counterbalance to Zeus's eagle, a symbol of Athena's independence and unique power? You consider how the owl's nocturnal nature aligns with Athena's role in illuminating the dark corners of ignorance and guiding mortals through uncertainty with calm, strategic insight. It's a symbol of knowledge that pierces the night. You recall earlier contrasts: the eagle's loud dominance and the owl's silent wisdom. Zeus's thunderbolts versus Athena's spear of reason. This dynamic encapsulates the broader tension between force and intellect. As you envision Athena standing tall, her owl perched silently beside her, you grasp how this partnership represents a profound union of power and prudence, war and wisdom, sight and insight. This choice reminds you that true strength often lies not in noise or might, but in quiet observation, thoughtful action, and the courage to see what others overlook. Thank you for journeying with me through this tale of birds, gods, and symbols. May the owl's calm wisdom guide you tonight.